All right, welcome back. Well, that is Ife Adebayo, who is the special advisor to the Vice President on Innovation and Entrepreneurship Program. Good morning. Thank you for coming on today.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're focusing on young people now because this program, which you get to talk about, is going to, clearly from the registration, from the Independent National Electoral Commission, they have a huge representation. 18 to 34. If they stick to it, will have a major say in terms of who runs this country in the next 4 years. And then we've seen the youth unemployment rate in the country. It keeps going up. A little over 19%, or is it 19.61% as of last year or this year? So that figure needs to go down, because if you put them in terms of numbers, it will be millions of Nigerians. And we know that the office of the VP, they're working on this Jubilee program, Jubilee internship program. So, and then there was an activity last week. So just go ahead and talk to us about this program and how it's going to address that huge challenge of youth unemployment.
Yeah, thanks. And I think the Jubilee Fellows program was conceived in a conversation of the Vice President with the UNDP, the United Nations Development Program. And was looking to come up with innovative ways to deal with the issues of unemployment, like you mentioned, but also underemployment, and then also to look at employability. So because the three of them go hand in hand. So on one hand, you have young graduates who are unable to get employment. On the other hand, you have organizations who claim that the people on the market and the labor market are simply unemployable. So how do you ensure that you're able to come up with a solution that addresses that addresses both issues? So the idea was to set up the Nigeria Jubilee Fellows Program, and Mr. Vice President and the President had a conversation about it, and it was agreed that working with the UNDP, the federal government was going to put down some money, and the UNDP will then go ahead and raise additional funding for this. So in August last year, Mr. President actually officially launched the program. And then the portal was open for applicants. And what this program does is, if you graduated between 2017 and now, you're able to apply to get on the program post-NYSC. It's a post-NYSC employment program. But it is a learning while you earn program, where as an employer, you get fellows posted to you who work with you. You don't have to pay for their services, because this is covered by the federal government and the UNDP and other funders and supporters, which I will speak on later. And then for 12 months, you're able to learn, but you're also earning something. You're able to gain the necessary skills that an employer will need without putting the burden of that on the employers. And this is one of the ways in which the federal government, in line with other programs of the government to fight unemployment, is looking to address these issues of unemployment.
So is that going to directly speak to work experience? Because when you mentioned those three areas, underemployment, unemployment, and then ensuring that those who then also need to be employable. So is this particular focus going to address all three of them in the same breath, or you have different strategies to address all three key points?
So the federal government has a lot of programs, but this specific program is one of so many other programs that are ongoing. And in this particular program, for all beneficiaries, we'll look to address the three. While you're on the program, you're going to be linked to mentors. So one of the things we've done over the last 1 year while planning for the onboarding of the fellows was engaging with institutions, engaging with international organizations, engaging with small businesses. And this process has been led by the United Nations Development Program. And why are we doing that? Because we want to ensure that we're not just placing people in offices where they're going to buy granite or going to buy water for their senior colleagues, but where they're actually learning and they're actually gaining experience while on the job. But beyond that, where they're also linked to fellows. One of the core things that will happen within this 12 months is also that there's going to be a learning stream. So all fellows will have specific learning outcomes that they must conclude prior to the completion of their fellowship in 12 months.
So is there, how do you, I know this may speak a little bit in terms of measurements and feedback, but on a larger scale, how do you measure the success or where you have challenges with this program? Is there a pool where If employers want certain persons, they go to that pool and say, well, if they've been through this program, we expect that they might have picked up the requisite skill that we may require, and so we go to that pool.
Yes, and if you listen to the Vice President on Friday, when he spoke about this program, he had referenced what the President had said in August about the fact that it is important that organizations take maximum advantage, and also for the fellows themselves. The Vice President mentioned on Friday that as a fellow, it is important that you perform so well during your period of stay that even for organizations that are not going to retain you, there will be the potential for you to be recommended to other places and for you to be engaged in other places. We have partners like Sterling Bank, for example, who mentioned the MD was at the onboarding event on Friday, and he had mentioned that, look, for us as a bank, we're taking on at least 1,000 fellows. And what is critical for us as a bank is that they're not just going to be fellows within the institution, within Sterling Bank, but they're going to pass through our own critical systems, through our own learning systems. They're going to go through our own specialized training and specialized modules, which we will even make available to other fellows. So within these 12 months, you're not just within the bank, you're not just within the organization that you've been posted to, but you're also learning as you go on.
So I see sometimes when people say, well, they've applied, they don't get any feedback. How do they know if they've been chosen? And then some of those who are there are asking, where do we get some sort of the payments for what's been done? How are you managing all that?
So the process was, the application was open last year. After the application closed, went through a series of reviews, and then the fellows were then made to write tests online. So based on the results of the tests, the first set of 5,000 fellows to be onboarded are currently in the process of being onboarded. I think we received over 100,000 applications from fellows, about 118,000. We received about 5,600 applications from organizations. Interestingly, most of the organizations that applied were micro and small businesses. About 58% of those who applied were small businesses. About 18% thereabout were micro businesses. The large companies that applied, I think, were just about 6.5%, which shows you that the core of the economy is actually within the smaller micro business space, and they're the ones that are actually showing a lot more interest in onboarding these fellows.
Okay, let me bring in my colleague Ayo just before we go to break. Ayo, go ahead, please.
Chief Chamberlain, I just want to quickly ask you, there are those who would backdate some of the programs that the federal government of Nigeria, irrespective of which administration is in power, have initiated. The ones that immediately come to mind are some of the from the previous administration, the Jonathan government. They had the UWIN program, the Showpea program, the Agropreneurs program. And so some will be wondering, why is it that every successive government drops what the previous government is doing, irrespective of whether or not it is good enough or not, and they just pick up on their own just to score some, I don't know, is it because you don't want to be identified with what the previous government did, or you think that this one is better? Consequently, you just gave it a new name, or you discarded the previous ones altogether?
Thanks. So I think government is a continuum, right? And so when you look at programs and projects of previous administrations, and you look at how the APC government in particular has fared, you find that this is the government that has largely continued to carry on previous projects of previous organizations. But for the ones you mentioned specifically, I think the realities are kind of different. So this government came in 2015 at a time when the prices of oil were greatly reduced and the country was going into an inevitable recession. And then immediately after we came out of the recession, we had the issues with COVID-19 and the global impact of that. So what you find is the government had to respond to the issues at the time. And that was why at the time the government set up the social investments program. You had the Empower, which recruited about 500,000 persons and got them into jobs. And then that has even been increased to 1 million today and has been institutionalized within the Federal Ministry of Government. So what you're finding is that beyond just interventions, the government is beginning to find ways to institutionalize some of these things so that irrespective of governments that come in, we're able to carry on, even if it's a different name, we're able to carry on the programs that can positively impact on Nigerians. But to also touch on that, you find that for a program like the Jubilee Fellows Program, being anchored by the UNDP, irrespective of the government that comes in, this is a 5-year program that the UNDP itself is raising funding for. So it is independent of the impact of a change of guard at the seat of power.
Okay.
What you will also find is the innovative way in which the funding is being raised for this. We had organizations like Visa that are supporting the program. We had Sterling Bank saying they're going to raise some money to support the program. We have General Electric supporting the program. We also have the European Union, which has committed about
well, Mr. Adebayo, we'll come back to you in a bit because we have a number of messages to take. When we return, one or two other issues will be raised with you. Please stay with us.
Learning on the ULesson app is great for better school grades, but it gets even better when you get the ULesson Education tab. Introducing the ULesson Education tab. Now your child can own their own dedicated learning tablet so they don't have to share. They can focus on learning and getting better school grades. The ULesson Education tab comes with up to 3 years ULesson Premium subscription, giving them unlimited access to video lessons, live classes, homework help, and practice exams on the ULesson app. 18 hours of battery life so their learning isn't interrupted. It's their tablet, but always stay in control of what they do with the Family Link app, which lets you monitor their activity on the tab. Mistakes happen, but we've got you covered. The ULesson app plus the Education tab equals better school grades. Order now to get free data on the MTN network and a free school bag.
In this age of global disruptions, local policy uncertainty, high inflation, and stiff competition, strategic leaders must challenge assumptions and glean fresh insight to thrive. Thus, Texam UK invites executives from your organization to attend the Strategic Leadership for Success in Volatile Times program. Join London Business School alumnus Professor Paul Griffith, the world's first professor of management, to lead a team to launch a rocket. Professor Roger Lalane, founding director of the Harvard University Maximize Your Bold's Potential program, and world-renowned ambassador Charles Crawford. Cost £3,800. Date 21st to 24th November 2022. Venue Juris Inn, Birmingham, UK. Through this program, Texam will leverage hard-tested and proven actionable methodology to equip leaders with the requisite capabilities to inspire better organization performance and sustainable success. For enquiries, email exec@texam.co.uk or call +44 7425 883 791. Texam, insights that inspire actions that change the world.
Hi, I'm Pat Rankin, and they don't call me World Best for no reason. I only deal with the best. Be it auto or business, 100% claim is always guaranteed.
Welcome to World Class Insurance Services. We are Anchor Insurance.
Where insurance truly works.
Thank you so much for staying with us. Well, Mr. Adebayo, just one quick one from me before I return you to Chamberlain. Now, this is a paid internship, I believe. That's what the information says.
Yes, it is.
Okay. Now,
yes, it is.
We're also aware, because it's for graduate, it's a graduate students program. The NYSC is also a paid service of sorts. Is there a nexus between the two? Is this NYSC and then this or NYSC? Exactly how does it work? And how does it help the graduate to transit into the rest of his life?
So this is a post-NYSC intervention program. The difference is that while the NYSC is compulsory, this is a government intervention program scheduled to run for 5 years. supported by the United Nations Development Program and the European Union as at today, but also still bringing on a lot of other partners as the program progresses.
But how does it help the fellow to transit into the rest of his life? That's the question.
So, like I had explained earlier, as a fellow, you get the opportunity to be on the program for a 12-month period. You get the opportunity to engage within the workspace, but importantly, earn some money while you do that. You get the necessary work tools to be able to support you within the 12 months, and you're also able to access a certain you're also able to access mentorship within the organizations and even outside the organization. But beyond that, as a fellow, you're also able to join a network of fellows where you're able to exchange ideas, you're able to have conversations, you're able to learn from each other, and you're able to learn within the organizations that you're working.
I see people asking that, they want to know, for instance, when people take the tests, do they get the immediate results and know whether they qualify or they don't qualify, since you get a lot of people who participate, to make it even easier for those who are administering the process? How does that work?
Yes, so those who have written the tests and have been confirmed to have passed the test have been informed. You'll be informed when you've passed. You'll be informed when you're shortlisted. You'll be informed when you're matched to an organization. The organization is also informed that this person has been matched to you, and then you go to the organization. The organization can choose to accept or reject a fellow when the fellow arrives based on their own internal processes. Okay,
so it's not that as soon as they take the test, they get the results immediately. They know when to move on or not. So they have to wait until they are contacted that they've succeeded or otherwise.
Yes, so they have to wait until they're contacted to inform them whether they've succeeded or not.
So do you inform everybody, or only those who qualify, who make it?
Everybody is informed.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So do you get scenarios where companies reject people who are actually qualified, and when that happens, how do you take it off from there?
Interestingly, we've not had a lot of that. Oh, okay. It's almost not happened. But if that does happen, the fellow will be rematched to another organization. We currently have about 5,600 organizations across the country that have shown an interest.
So that means, of course, a lot more organizations will be welcome to come into this program.
Oh, yes. Yes. Okay. So the application for host organizations is still open and ongoing.
So what about those who want to participate in the program themselves?
The fellows.
The fellows.
No, the application for fellows have closed.
So the first batch, how many batches do you plan to have over what time?
So there will be batches of about 5,000 each every quarter. So there will be a total of 20,000 every year that will run for 5 years.
All right. So we'll hope that at the end of the day, it's something that I think whichever government comes in, it will be a good initiative for them to pick up on and ensure that they keep addressing the youth unemployment challenge and employability, as a matter of fact, which is key, which organizations talk about almost all the time.
Yeah, and I think very critical. The Vice President was very specific about the importance of ensuring the private sector owns this program. So, for example, the fund that is running the program is managed outside of government by the United Nations Development Program. The money is raised outside of government by the United Nations Development Program. But even more critical is that there is a private sector board that manages the dispensation and the management of this fund, such that it is independent of the bureaucratic processes of government.
All right. So thank you very much indeed, and all the best. That is Ife Adebayo, the Special Advisor to the President on Entrepreneurship.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that is it today on the